And we're back. So much to talk about in sports media. We had to have John Ourand to discuss the main event, the monthly. Here he is, John Ourand. You can subscribe to our podcast, andrewmarchand.com, twice weekly podcast. Mita Perel and me on Tuesdays, comes out usually Monday afternoons now, and then on the main event on Thursdays. So much going on. The Puck legend, private email.
The private email. Get that. It's not a newsletter. It is not a newsletter. It's a private email.
You got to read it. They come out 3 times a week. John drives the ship on 2 of them, on Monday and Thursday, and then they got another one on Tuesday that he takes credit for. And then he has then there's a podcast he has Wednesday and Sunday. Nick Khan the other day, very good on the WWE ESPN deal. We'll get to my sponsor in a second. But first, your biggest headline. It's been Deal-a-Palooza. For us, this is kind of heaven to watch all these deals, think about them, talk about them. So I love having you on and appreciate you joining. What's your biggest headline of the last couple of weeks?
The biggest headline to me is it's so hard for people like you and me, because we're like in the middle of things. And like, it's like, okay, the NFL did a deal with ESPN, and then WWE did, and then UFC and Paramount. If you take a step back and try to look at this from a 50,000 foot level, my headline is that this is traditional media companies that we're seeing the strategy in place as they try to take on the Amazons, the Netflix, and the Googles. It's the UFC Paramount deal. I mean, we're going to get all into all this later in depth, but that's a deal that's about Paramount Plus, and it's about CBS broadcast, ESPN, and the NFL. That's a linear TV deal, and it's a lot of content for the ESPN app that's coming out. So to me, it's traditional media companies that are saying their pitch to the leagues are, you come to us and you're available everywhere. If you go to Apple, you're behind a paywall, or if you go to Netflix, you're only there for Netflix subscribers. But we have broadcast, we have cable, we also have streaming. This is where these last 2 weeks, we've really seen that sort of get turbocharged.
And I think they're sports focused. I wrote a column the other day in The Athletic, and I quoted Lee Corso. I was talking about, the idea that Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, Apple are just going to take over, and Paramount, ESPN this week, NBC last year when they made the NBA deal. Fox has made a bunch of deals. TNT is still active. So the Lee Corso line, not so fast. So the idea that we're just going into this next stage, not so fast. We're going to get into all of that. We're presented by WSC Sports. You want to make your life easier, if you're a league, a network, or a team, or anyone who uses clips, WSC Digital Asset Management, a library that actually gets sports. WSC uses AI tags for each player and play type the moment a clip comes in. So news breaks, Digital Asset Management will make it so you can find the perfect clip in minutes, not hours. Check it out at WSC-sports.com. We have an off the record coming in September. I think we're going to announce it next week. Very exciting. One of the places we just talk, they're the biggest wig there, head top person coming September. At September 24th, I'd start blocking out the afternoon on your calendar on that date. We'll probably announce that next week.
Wow, that's a tease and a half right there.
Yeah, by the way, you have a huge now thing with Moffitt-Nathanson that I guess is sold out from your newsletter. When you're making jokes about me, you mentioned some news about, sports media. And then also you guys have a good new forum that you're doing to bring people in with Moffitt-Nathanson.
Yeah, we got together with Michael Nathanson and Robert Fishman over at Moffitt-Nathanson. Adam Silver is committed to talk. Michael Rubin from Fanatics is committed to talk. We have Derek Chang, who is overseeing F1 and runs Liberty, is committed to come. Jay Marine. So we have a pretty good group of Hans Schroeder, his first on stage interview since Brian Rolap left. He's now the top media executive over at the NFL. So I'm legitimately pumped about this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. If you want to listen to the whole podcast, andrewmarchand.com, andrewmarchand.com. Let's start with ESPN, Paramount. Where do you want to go?
Let's start with ESPN and the NFL, because that to me is the biggest deal of them all. And I'm going to push this on you, Andrew. From the NFL's perspective, why did they do this deal?
From the NFL's perspective, I think it's a no-brainer. We've both been writing about the NFL trying to unload their media assets since the beginning of time, and time's kind of running out a little bit. If you look at the linear business, this is kind of what our podcasts, our old podcasts, now the new podcasts we have, and what we write about. It's not going anywhere. The linear business is going to be there, just like newspapers are still around in some form in some places, not everywhere, of course, but it's not going anywhere. But if you needed to get out, and to get out at a valuation of 10% of ESPN, which is probably about $2.5 billion, is a great valuation. And then the NFL does what the NFL does, where they had leverage over ESPN in some regards, because if you look at it, I think it's a smart deal for ESPN, because I think it's good for them to be in bed with the NFL long term, especially when we talk about the Netflix and Amazons, et cetera, that they're competing against. When I look at it for the NFL, it's a lot of money. They took back 4 games that they'll sell someplace else and make, at least you would think, $50 to $150 million per game, somewhere in that range. And so you're talking somewhere, maybe 300 to 600 million more. I'd go more towards probably the 600. And so for them, it's great. And they just didn't really like the assets that much. And then they still have some. If you look at Red Zone, they did get it, but I don't think ESPN got as much as they really wanted. I think they'd want that, within their app. They didn't get that fully. You can get it at a deal, kind of like they're doing with Fox One, where you'll be able to get ESPN $29.99 and then add NFL Plus Premium that has Red Zone. A little confusing. I think it'd be better for ESPN if it was within the app. Overall, money. The other day with Mita Perel, I gave Roger Goodell my what's up, because, again, good deal for ESPN, but I don't see how you could not like it for the NFL.
NFL Network, talk about a declining asset. I mean, these league-owned networks, not supported by a broadcast network, no retransmission consent or anything like that. It's been losing subscribers at regional sports network level rates. The NFL, for as long as you and I have been covering this league, hates to be associated with anything that's not just growing immensely. And owning cable channels, even NFL Red Zone, it has such great buzz about it. People love NFL Red Zone, but it's a declining asset. It's a digital cable channel, for goodness sakes. And so the idea that they got out of that business, it works great for them. And also, I do believe, despite what we said, Lee Corso's
Not so fast.
not so fast, we see where everything is going. Everything is heading towards streaming. Cable is becoming AM radio, and maybe broadcast is like FM radio or something. Like, we know where everything is going. This is going to slow that migration down even just a little bit, which is important, I think, for the leagues, because it props up a legacy media company in Disney, ESPN, that leagues like the NFL need to be bidding as much money as they do to keep these prices high. Because if everything goes to streaming, like Netflix has a lot of money and they bid on a lot of things, but they don't want a full season package of games. They want Christmas Day games, or maybe the international package of games, or something along those lines. So I do think for the NFL, that was another benefit of it.
100%. I want to hit on that. If you want to listen to the rest of the podcast, AndrewMarchand.com, AndrewMarchand.com. Get Chris LaPlaca last week, every Tuesday. We come out Monday afternoons. Marchand.
LaPlaca was great.
Yeah, he was excellent. A lot of great feedback on LaPlaca. You should go back. A lot of archives. We get Ourand once a month, and that's always enjoyable. And then there's main events every other Thursday. And so that's AndrewMarchand.com. I want to get on that point that you're hitting on in regards to the streamers. You've made this point. It's a very good point many times, is that if Amazon, for example, were to get out of the sports business, their stock might go up the next day. And if I'm the leagues, I'm a little concerned that this isn't their core business. You've talked to executives. I've talked to executives. There have been times where these big leagues or big networks are trying to do a deal with the streamers and these digital companies. They're so big. They're so massive. Sports is such a tiny part of their business. It's sometimes hard to get them on the phone. And, we're talking about important people in the business world. I do think the idea of for leagues to have ESPN still as a hub that people go to that is considered, your first option for sports is good for the leagues. The NFL, we both know, has always been a little bitter because they felt like they made ESPN. And, when they got the NFL in '87, that's where everything kind of changed for them in terms of what they got with subscribers. But I think you want someone whose core business is sports. And I think you want the Amazons, you want Netflix involved, YouTube maybe gets more involved, but I think that's what makes sense for them. And I think what we're getting back, we talk about the great rebundling. ESPN and Fox One, Fox's new stream service, they have a combo, Venue Two, if you will, where ESPN direct to consumers $29.99, Fox is $19.99. You can get both for $30, so you save $10 a month. And I guess they're starting to solve some of the problems post cable, but the biggest thing I think you have to do, and I'm not saying this is a good attempt, and this is the first round, and they'll get probably to better places. It has to feel like a bundle because cable. I think there's a little misnomer about cable. Yes, it's the great bundle, but it's not like they weren't separate channels. They were just under an umbrella, which made it a bundle. But you can do that in some regards. I'm not sure you can get everything under one thing. YouTube would have the best chance of putting everything under one roof, but that's what you need it to feel like it. So if you were to get Fox and ESPN at $30, then you get Peacock. I don't know how much everything costs exactly. Let's just say $10 Peacock costs. You can get Paramount Plus for $8 a month with commercials. Peacock's probably less. So what are we at then? 16, 30. We're at $46. And who am I missing? I got Peacock, I got Paramount, I got ESPN, I got Fox.
You could have said we're at $66, and I would have agreed.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
you.
I know my math. I'm like going in my head like a beautiful mind. Like, oh my God, am I gonna get this math correct? Actually, speaking of that, this is a quick side note. Once I was covering the Mets, and Glendon Rush was a pitcher for the Mets, and I had to do this before, like you could just look on the internet really fast, and his ERA for like the last 4 starts. I'm on like deadline.
Oh God, you're doing the math.
I'm doing the math, and not only that, the next day, like sometimes your story wasn't long enough, they make a blurb bigger. The blurb was like huge of what his ERA like. Oh my gosh, we're relying on my math on deadline to what I think I got it right. Your take on all what I just said in terms of the great rebundling, looking at ESPN as maybe a core place for people to go.
The Fox ESPN bundle, I don't feel is part of the great rebundling. I think that that's a marketing scheme. That's a step toward the great rebundling. I think that if you take a look at what Amazon's doing, like with Amazon channels, I think what YouTube is trying to do, what Jimmy Pitaro wants to do is he wants not where you bundle and then I want to get out of the ESPN app to go to the Fox app. He wants everything within the ESPN app. And so he wants, once you're in the ESPN app, oh, I want to see this World Series game. I'll pay $10 extra or whatever the price is in order to click on and watch the game being produced by Fox, and Fox would get whatever percentage of that money. Fox, of course, right now in 2025 has zero interest in doing that. They don't want ESPN to get not even knowledge about the types of people that are watching the shows that they get there. So that's ultimately what the great rebundling is going to be.
But wait, no, let me stop you there. Where do you see it ultimately going? Yeah, I get that's what Jimmy Pitaro wants. I don't know if that's what Jimmy Pitaro gets. I don't think he gets that because if I'm these other places, why am I helping Disney?
Because Disney will say, like, we can help you make a lot more money. What if they get 50 million people that are then clicking on the Fox tab at, $20 a month or something along those lines, whatever the price may be.
In theory, you could do that. I feel like YouTube would be the best place. And I think the issue is, like, this is kind of my overall, I said this forever about Twitter. Bob Iger almost bought Twitter years ago. If he had bought Twitter, would people not from a Disney company, if you worked at Fox, would you still post on Twitter? Just because it's like, why does everyone post on Twitter? And why is that your first option? So this is kind of like the same thing you're saying. You need something that is perceived to be agnostic, to be the place where it brings everything together.
Yeah, and an ESPN app called ESPN is hardly agnostic. Exactly. Amazon channels, that could be agnostic, maybe. It's not Amazon Prime. It's Amazon Channels. You just buy it through
I
Amazon.
also don't know if that, again, like, we get into like our, I don't know, there's probably a big word for this, but your own biases. Like, I don't use Amazon channels.
What's the big word? Your own or biases? Biases is a big word to you.
There's like recency bias, there's like self bias, there's probably some kind of term that would sound more intelligent.
Mita Pearl does not have the dictionary I have, I guess. Like, I mean, come on, bias.
He is a Red Sox fan and you're an Oriole fan, so advantage me to Perel at the moment.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. My season ended a couple of months ago.
Also, by the way, before we get too much further, there's just two things we got to go over. Number one, you owe me a steak dinner.
Not yet. We'll see if it launches.
You want like the world to end before August 21st? That's what you're rooting for? So you can't pay for a puck steak dinner that you're probably going to charge the puck and tell them there's a business meeting. I'm going to learn about the business.
You know what? I made that bet when I was with SBJ, so maybe I can convince SBJ's newest media reporter.
Ooh, Austin Karp.
Yeah,
maybe he could pick it up. All right. The other thing is that people on the video, I'm not sure if this is going to show up when our great producer puts this all together. But if you're watching on the video, there's Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez is a cardboard cutout. You're in the puck offices. What's going on here? I don't know if people can see this. I guess we'll zoom in if not, but this is what I'm looking at the whole time.
So I am in the conference room right now that is branded the best and the brightest, and we have cutouts. I'm looking over, and Mark Zuckerberg's over there. We have Iger down the hallway. Adam Silver is here. We have it's part of the puck charm.
By the way, we have the same lead on your newsletter about the luminaries in the TKO box.
The TKO box.
Yeah.
The sphere.
Yeah. Bezos, we had Iger, and then, of course,
it's almost like we talked to the same person for that story.
Yes. Yep. 100%. Yeah. Let's stay with ESPN. We got WWE. As it compared to UFC, what's your take on that?
I don't want to restate what I said earlier, but like,
this is when John's gonna say, I don't want to do this, and then he's gonna actually do it. But go ahead.
Now I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Do it. Right?
WWE went to ESPN. UFC went to CBS. The NFL went to ESPN. I had a story on the USGA, the golf rights, the US Open, and Netflix wanted them, and they're sticking with NBC. I really thought the way things were headed and the interest that these streamers had in sports rights, and which is legitimate. They're all starting their advertising tiers. They all love sports. They want to get more involved with sports. I thought this was going to presage what was going to be happening at the end of the decade when a lot of rights come up. But so far, rights that are coming up, they're sticking with the traditional guys. I mean, I'm really surprised by all of them.
I'm not, because first off, I've said this. Look, they're getting involved, but are they really going to dominate? Maybe in the 2040s, maybe the end of the 2030s.
2040s.
Well, when you look at it, first off, most of the stuff is signed up through 2030. Or at least most of the big stuff is now done till 2030.
They'll pick off here and there.
The NFL opt out. But right now, if the NFL if you were to say in 2029, 2030, just off of what just happened the last week and a half, do you really see ESPN not being involved in the NFL? That seems hard to believe when the NFL owns 10%. ESPN already pays the most.
You're doing what you would love to do, which is put a straw man argument in my mouth. The idea is, could you see in 2030 a streaming company pick off one of the packages from a current broadcasting company?
Yes, but the idea would have been, I think if you look at the two that seemed most susceptible before this Paramount deal with Ellison and the money he just spent, which is crazy money. I mean, that's an amazing deal for UFC.
Oh, great deal for UFC.
More than doubling. That's incredible.
By the way, my who's up, if you did the Mita Pearl one after this, it would have certainly been Mark Shapiro or Dana as who's up. I mean, that deal for UFC is phenomenal.
It's incredible. So off of that deal, it's almost, I'm not going to say impossible, but very difficult to imagine that CBS and Paramount are not going to have the NFL long term.
I agree.
So that changed. I'm not saying they weren't going to keep it. They might have kept it. But the idea that they were the ones that couldn't play in the stratosphere, if a YouTube or a Netflix or an Apple or somebody wanted to just go and take a Sunday package and say, we're going to put this digitally or whatever, or if ESPN, ABC wanted to come in. Because I also think, like, if you look at ESPN, for example, I think when you look at the streamers and what they want and where they're going to play ball, if I the people who I'd be worried about Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football.
Yes, yes, and yes.
I know what was said a couple of months ago, whatever, but I don't see them, the NFL, especially when the government kind of gets involved. I think they're going to be on broadcast for on Sundays for a long time because it just, first off, it makes everyone happy. Secondly, there's good business, but it doesn't mean that ABC couldn't be in play.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a totally good point.
It doesn't mean that NBC couldn't do the afternoons. And so if you look at it, if Netflix says we want Sunday Night Football, we're going to outspend NBC Comcast says, all right, well, we're going to go get Fox's package. Like, that's, in my opinion, where it's probably going. Like, again, for our purposes, we want a free for all come end of the decade.
Chaos is great. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Mayhem. Yes. We don't want like just re-upping early.
Because to build off what you said, I think the two safest packages in the NFL are the Fox package and the CBS package. And the reason why I consider them safe is just safe for broadcast. What CBS and Fox do on Sunday afternoons, they produce at a high level, sometimes 5 games at a time.
I know, but somebody else could do that.
It's not easy, but it's not easy to do.
They do a great job. I'm not saying they don't do a very good job, but it's what happens when these things change hands is that they just hire everyone from those old places. That's what Fox did from CBS. They basically just hired all the CBS people in the early mid 90s, and they just picked it up where they left off for the most part. I mean, they had some new people too, and some people at the head of the company who were different, but for the most part, they hired a lot of the people from CBS. So I think that's a little overrated. My point being is that there's a butterfly effect. The digital players, I think, are in it for events. I think that's where they're going to play ball. Quite honestly, I think that's what everybody wants. Nobody really wants the tonnage. That's where we'll get into a little baseball maybe later. It's the tonnage isn't as effective as it once was with the RSNs. I mean, there's just not as many people in niche. I mean, the way people subscribe to these things for the most part, and this is why the Paramount deal is such a home run, in my opinion, because first off, you can get Paramount Plus for $60 if you pay right up front for the year. A pay-per-view right now costs $80. Then you get all of Paramount, even though you can get NFL on CBS, you get NFL on it, you get South Park, you get a million things. The fan loves that. That's always my problem with all these Apple deals. Is like, you could tell me before they could put in a doubleheader. They told me 2 years before, we're going to put a doubleheader. Each team's going to play about 4 times a year. It's going to be exclusive on Fridays. I would have told you right there, no one will like this deal. It was obvious.
I believe that happened during our pod, and that's exactly what we said. Yes.
The Roku deal, I mean, again, one of the worst deals ever probably, is $10 million, which is crazy low.
Have you watched the Roku telecast?
I put it on a couple of times just to check it out.
I think they do a good job. I just like the idea. Well, Peacock was the first one to do this, but they bring in the analysts from the RSNs, and so it's people that know these teams. And
I got it, but how many people think are actually watching?
Not a lot. Yeah.
Like, nobody knows. Like Papa Clicker, huge now. He's older. He's not the demo that they're looking for. But Papa Clicker is, God bless him, but he's not really their demo. But I'm like, there's a Roku. He's like, what Roku? And he loves baseball. Huge baseball, has MLB package. The point being is that, yes, it's free, but it's still hard. It's not accessible to a lot. Now, Roku's very popular. Roku's a big business. I'm not saying anything about Roku. And maybe that's where the MLB is trying to figure out, is that where the habits are changing, to. It just doesn't work. In my opinion, it just doesn't work. I don't know what to tell you. And I get it. It's hard when you want to change places. But to me, when you change places, you got to do it like the NFL did with Amazon, change for a lot of money.
I want to make one more point about the ESPN NFL deal. And ESPN almost certainly is going to renew Monday Night Football now. Or who knows if it's Monday Night Football.
I have a big package. If it's not Monday night, if it's Sunday night, if it's a Sunday afternoon packages, I would say yes, 10% ownership. I can't imagine why. And also they already spend the most money, so it's not like they spend the most. It's like Disney doesn't have money. It's not like ESPN still doesn't make money, and it's not that the NFL is the most important thing going.
I do want to just point this out. Warner Brothers Discovery ran NBA TV. They had a business relationship with the NBA. They wanted to keep the NBA. The fact that the NFL owns part of ESPN. It helps out ESPN, no doubt, but it's not certain.
Well, I would say this, Bob Iger's never going to leave. So in 2029, if he's doing a symposium,
We're going to get the AI Bob Iger in like 10 years.
I would recommend him not saying we don't need the NFL. That I would say, again, everyone can deny that. Like, that was like a bad omen for your future. That would be my recommendation. And also, you got to hit the number. I mean, these places, unfortunately for the networks, and the NFL is the toughest. You got to hit the number. I do believe people when they tell me that TNT could have kept the NBA.
I do too.
I believe that.
I believe two things. I believe that to be true, and I believe that the NBA is thrilled to be on Amazon
And NBC.
and NBC. Yeah.
I think they ended up in a better place. With all due respect, I love my people at TNT. I felt bad for anybody. I think a lot of people kept their jobs, which is good. But if you ask me, if you were to rank the 4 places for the NBA deal, you could make a case for who you'd put 1, 2, and 3 between ESPN/ABC, NBC Peacock, and Amazon Prime Video for the next 11 years. But I think TNT is definitely 4th of those 4.
The one thing about TNT, and we saw this with their production of the French Open, and we just saw it with Inside the NBA. I mean, and their game productions, I think, were fantastic. When they're a partner with a league like the NBA, they did a lot to help build up the NBA, and I think the quality of their production was for both pregame and for at game was better than ESPN over the course of the last 15, 20 years, probably.
We can get a little more NBA. I want to just get a little more into the UFC Paramount deal. Not a total shocker to me. I think all indications, Paramount, I think they could, TNT Sports becoming a part of Paramount.
I got to push back. I was shocked when I saw that Paramount was the one that was getting UFC.
Yeah, no, I wasn't shocked.
You're kidding me.
I wasn't shocked. No, if you listen to this podcast, you're a subscriber. If you listen to this podcast, I've been saying, now I didn't say definitely that they're getting UFC. Like, that wasn't, but the idea that David Ellison was coming into Spain, I don't think he's done. If I covered other areas in the media, I'm not going to say what exactly. I think there's other deals coming that are humongous with David Ellison.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Having it happen within a week of taking ownership of CBS, that the UFC one caught me off guard.
Wait, hold on a second.
Because I always thought that they would be at the table for the MLB, and so like I agree with your overall assessment of Ellison and the new Paramount CBS.
I just think they have like Netflix money now, and that's what they're looking. That was in my column the other day in The Athletic. When you make a list of sports properties, when something's up, you should put them at the top of the list. You could say maybe not number 1, maybe it's still ESPN. They are a different player. We've talked about this before, and I always say this. I'm always hesitant to judge every deal. I don't get to see the exact how much this is worth, and like I don't know that. So I've talked to people, of course, and they can tell me this is a great deal. We make money on this deal. There's always stories about this Super Bowl is sold out. Yeah, we know every year. That's not a story, everybody. They sell out the Super Bowl every year. It's more money than the previous year. It's great for that, but does that mean that it's worth the billions that you're spending? I can't tell you for certain. So, but I will tell you this on this one. So I said that I don't see how any way $1.1 billion per year, when you're $60 you can get this product for. There aren't a lot of ad spots for UFC. I don't really see how that pencils out. It pretty much doesn't. So a loss leader in a lot of ways, but I don't think that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to, I think they're just going to be deal after deal.
They're trying to build up Paramount Plus. The UFC fan base is what propped up ESPN Plus for so long, primarily. I think more so than really any of the college rights they had or anything along those lines. And so this is unnecessary. You got to overspend to sort of get into the game, and that's what. Not CBS. CBS has been in the game, and I think UFC is thrilled to be part of what Mark Shapiro called the Tiffany Network.
Yes, I like that. I was like, Shapiro's a great quote.
But Paramount Plus, that is new, and you got to overspend if you want us to go on Paramount Plus.
But they're going to get 4 shows on CBS at least, depending on which interview you're listening to, and I think that's pretty good to be on broadcast TV. And I think that the biggest win for them, and I said this, that WWE was first on this. Nick Khan's usually kind of ahead on these things with a lot of what he does, and now TKO Shapiro and Emmanuel. Wrestling is before Khan. They first went to WWE Network, so they're ahead of that. Then they moved to Peacock, got rid of pay per view. And losing pay per view is great for fans. It's great for casuals. I said this the other day. Like, I wouldn't, at my, when I was a kid, maybe, but not now. I wouldn't just pay for pay per view for WrestleMania. I just gonna skip it. Maybe I'll see a highlight on Twitter or something. If it's free with Peacock, I've checked it out. It's not free. I pay for Peacock, but if it's included in my subscription, and so with ESPN, you'll check it out. And if you look at it, look, we can all crush ESPN. It's still ESPN. It's not what it once was. And maybe there's a chance with this direct to consumer, it will build itself back up to where it was, but it's still ESPN. It's still going to be great for them to be on First Take. They'll probably get on Good Morning America. Again, I'm not sure if these things help, as much as they once did, but it does make it seems pretty obvious that what TKO and Nick Khan have tried to do is make WWE more mainstream. They have deals for their belts with every league, SEC, big whatever. You always see their belts, baseball, their home run derby. Their belts are everywhere. It's going to make it bigger and bigger. I don't see how, if you looked at it beforehand and you looked at the WWE deals and you said, where would you want to be? And you're going to get the money. And you said Netflix for a decade and Disney for 5 years. I think you take those two. I think it's a pretty good result for them. And I think for losing UFC for ESPN, you need, again, the long tail stuff does well because it's once a month. You're a wrestling fan, you're going to have ESPN. It's just no doubt. And also I think, I talked to Shapiro the other day. He mentioned piracy being a big issue with pay-per-views. And I think they estimate 20 to 30,000 people were pirating their big events. Less people are going to pirate the stuff when it's, just included and you have it and you get all this other programming.
With ESPN, they could have kept. I think they wanted to keep a package of for UFC, and we're expecting to at one point. But they walk on Formula One. They essentially don't pay up to do a deal for UFC. Go down the list. Baseball, they pulled out of the $550 million per year package, or they're back sort of talking to them. The new ESPN is more fiscally prudent than at any time since I've been covering them.
See, I disagree. I know that's a big thing for you. And let me get to that in a second, but we're presented by WSC Sports. You want to make your life easier if you're a league, a network, or a team, or anyone who uses clips. WSC Digital Asset Management, a library that actually gets sports. WSC uses AI text. So look, John Ourand was a great, what was your big sport?
Oh, I played rugby in college.
Yeah, rugby. So Ourand makes a great catch. When you score in rugby, what is it called?
It's a try.
All right. He has a try, and you say, all right, and a couple weeks later, we need an Ourand. Big news. He's changing teams, got a big contract, like when he left SBJ for Puck. We need a highlight, and let's see his try. Boom. AI. 3 seconds later, they can give you that Ourand highlight from a couple of weeks ago. Digital Asset Management, WSC-sports.com. Your league, your team, your network, you got to use them.
When I scored my tries, it was only Polaroids that were available at that time, I think. No video.
All right. Wait, what was I going to say that you were wrong about it?
So you were going on the idea that ESPN is not as fiscally responsible, or more, or
I'm going to add it up for a story. They spent over the Pitaro era, they've spent about $100 billion in rights fees. It might not be 100, it might be like 80. I got to do the math because I did it once before, about 5 years ago, when I first told you they were going to do direct to consumer within 5 years, and you owe me a steak now.
We'll see.
They made a moat. So I don't really see how, yes, have they passed on some things? The Big Ten deal they passed on because Fox owned it.
Big Ten. That's a Big Ten. It's a big deal.
They're going to get these deals that NBC and CBS have, which are for lesser games. I mean, like, yes, if they're not just taking anything.
Listen, ESPN still spends. ESPN picks where it wants to spend, and then it spends to keep it. There was no David Zaslav type drama with the NBA and ESPN. Jimmy Pitaro said, yes, we're going to pay what we need to pay in order to keep this because it's important to us. Same with the NFL, same with the SEC in college football. It used to be that they would spend on, NASCAR or all these other things, and they would just raise rates to the cable operators, and everybody was happy because like the cable was growing, ESPN was growing, and it was easy. Now ESPN, like, it has to show a profit. It has to be more fiscally prudent.
I got it, but they are. They did show a profit last time out.
They partly are because they're taking a look at the baseball deal and saying like, boy, our Sunday night baseball package is not worth 550
That's because
million.
that's like so overpriced, and the market is likely going to show it. I mean, it's not a coincidence. I don't think coincidence that baseball hasn't gotten a deal. Maybe they'll pull something out. Maybe somebody will come late. But that deal was, but that wasn't being physically responsible. Like we're not spending. That was this deal is so overpriced because Roku has a $10 million deal. Apple has an 85 to $90 million deal for not as good a package, but a similar package. The thing that's a misnomer, and I think baseball it's in my opinion needs to get over this, is that ESPN paid out the nose for the NFL, for the NBA. They did it for those things because those things, those are championship. They're getting the NBA finals every year. They got Super Bowls. So with all that, let's just finish up. Baseball, what do you think happens here? You're bullish on it. I'm bullish on the sport overall. Great attendance. Their media plan, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. I've heard Apple. We know ESPN's back involved. Netflix, maybe. Bloomberg reported on Home Run Derby. I think there have been some talks. I'm not sure that's necessarily going to happen. Possibly makes some sense in their, what they do. But again, if I'm baseball, I'm also careful about just throwing something on Netflix and then it doesn't really do that great. And Netflix is like, all right, next time around, maybe we don't need this. Like I think I'd be a little careful with my experiments.
If you gave them a taste of the home run derby, or I'd be careful if it was like.
But the home run derby, it's not. I get it. It does well. What does it get? 5 to 7 million people per year. If you go to Netflix out of nowhere, I'm not sure you're getting 5 to 7 million people watching that.
All right, so here's why I'm positive about about MLB. Almost no chance they're going to make 550 million over the next 3 years. They're going to take a bath over the next 3 years. In 2028, when everything comes up, there is no work stoppage, and games continue to go on. So
okay, that's a big if, but go ahead.
By the way, that's a huge if, as you know. But I do get the sense that the Scott Boras clients are pushing like, no salary cap, and there's a whole middle class.
More than Scott Boras clients.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking like this upper tier. So that's not what I think. That's kind of what I hope. I just hope that there's no that they're going to go through. Hey, can I tell you my Scott Boras story?
Sure.
I went to a Dodgers playoff game and had great seats behind home plate. I was in the third row, and I was 2 rows behind Scott Boras, and he was just sitting there, totally pleasant, greeted everybody who came by, sitting by himself, not mugging for the camera, and he was keeping score with like an old time scorebook. It was like it was one of the coolest things that I'd seen.
Well, my years of covering baseball, I'd say Scott Boras, Bobby Valentine. Those are probably 2 of the most interesting people I've covered Boras's clients, but just very interesting character. I think Boras should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't think how you're going to put all these commissioners in how Scott Boras is not in the Hall of Fame.
Scott Boras, your guys need to re-sign with the Orioles. Come on. I mean, Baltimore is a great baseball town. Jeez.
Look, here's the thing. If you want the best deal, Boras is proven the best agent. Now, if you want him to stay in some of his guys re-sign. They don't re-sign.
Well, we'll see. Anyway,
by the way, these are adults. They're the ones who ultimately make the decision. So
they're kids. Those are kids out there.
No. Whatever. They might be treated like kids. They might act like kids, but they don't.
All right. So final thing, because I didn't finish my thought. In 2028, there's going to be a big package of local rights that may or may not have the Yankees or Dodgers, but it's still going to be a package that's going to be worth a lot. And that's going to garner interest from Netflix and Amazon. It's going to garner interest from all these other traditional media streamers. And the chance to own October when you don't have a huge college football package is something that I think that they would be very interested. That's what's tough with baseball. Nobody wants to sign up.
They put that opt-out in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. One of the just a terrible deal putting that opt-out.
Yeah, that wasn't good. So they're going to lose some money most likely, but maybe they got something out of it. All right, always a pleasure. John Ourand, Puck. You can get his private email on Mondays and Thursday. They have another one on Tuesday that he takes credit for. And then Wednesday and Sunday is his podcast. I think he has Sarah Fisher. Does a tremendous job at Axios. So you can listen to that. And thank you for listening. And John, as always, really appreciate you giving us the time on the main event.
Yeah, most fun I have all week. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.